Ooh. So, welcome to the introduction to the NPQEYL, which stands for the National Professional Qualification of Early Years Leadership. I'm Laura Wilkins. As Lisa said, I'm a design fellow at Ambition Institute, and my experience of leading and working across the early years sector spans approximately around 10 years. So I'm really excited to be working on the design of the programme. And I'm joined today by my colleague Toby Horrocks, who is an Associate Dean at Ambition, who's leading the design of the NPQEYL. And so, as Lisa said, as I go through this content, if you have any questions, could you please send them in a private message to Lisa or Teaching School Hub, or jot them down and send them through at the end when we have time for questions. So we'll start with a bit about context, and you may have seen the following graphic before. This is taken from the Education Endowment Foundation's Attainment Gap report. And the report details the attainment gap between disadvantaged pupils and their peers. And as we can see, the gap doubles at the end of every phase. The attainment gap starts early. On average, disadvantaged pupils are 4.3 months behind their peers during the early years. There's predictions that this is likely to be worse with the impact of COVID-19, and current research is ongoing, particularly on the impact of young children. So with this in mind, our mission at Ambition Institute is to close this gap so that every child can thrive, no matter what their background is. Tackling the disadvantaged attainment gap is central to providing the best for our children. It impacts their future outcomes, such as career prospects, happiness, and well-being. We also aim to achieve this through our mission. We believe that improving teaching and school leadership is the best way to make sure that every pupil gets a great education. And throughout our programmes, we want to ensure that there are expert teachers in every classroom, being led by exceptional school leaders at all levels. So let's now have a look at how the NPQEYL programme at Ambition Institute fits into our vision and mission. So the NPQEYL is an 18-month programme, and we've designed it to be specific. So it's written by early years leaders for early years leaders. It's collaborative, so it offers a chance for leaders, as yourself, to collaborate across the sector and learn from others. And we've included specialist input on our programme. So we have a vast range of sector-leading professionals and settings feeding into the development of the NPQEYL programme. So many of the people we're working with were also on the advisory board for the NPQEYFS framework, including Tilly Brown, head teacher at Reach Felton, Julian Grenier, head teacher at Sheringham Nursery, and Jill Mason, professional development lead at Kids Planet Day Nurseries. Additionally, we have an early years advisory board, which comprises of distinguished early years academics and practitioners, and that ranges from professors at university that are currently looking at baby room leadership and research, and people who have founded websites such as Early Insights with Dr. Polly Crowther, who coordinate the research across the early years sector, not just in the UK, but across the globe. So some really great specialists that we have working with us on this programme. And we aim to provide extensive exemplification from a wide range of settings throughout. We have really great connections with schools across the UK, where we've been going in and filming the different types of provisions and taking photos so that we can show you what that means across a wide range of different provisions and different settings across the early years. We hope then that this would resonate with all of the leaders that we have on our course to provide real life experiences examples. And so much of the programme is designed to be accessed at a time which best suits you. So you'll find out more about how the programme is structured later in the webinar, when Lisa tells you a little bit more. But for now, we'll look at an overview to the course content and curriculum. So the NPQEYL starts with a launch conference that's then made up of 9 modules throughout the programme. Take a moment now to have a look through the first 4. So we begin with implementation. We think about what the foundations are to be an effective leader. And then we move on to culture, ensuring that our culture is ready to implement some of the things that we have to do within the early years. We move on to child development and professional development. Take a moment now to look at courses 5 to 9. There's also a second conference within the programme as well. So again, we're looking at really core areas of the early years, effective early years education. What does it look like? Curriculum and assessment. What's the best way to approach this? We then look at other courses like organisational management and working in partnership, which are really key to being leaders in the early years. And a caveat here is that we call everyone on the programme a leader, even if you are not yet a leader or you are an aspiring leader, aspiring to be a leader. So what does each course look like in detail? So we've zoomed in here on the culture course. Each course has 3 modules. As I've said, they're designed to be completed in your own time and be flexible with that. Take a look now at some of the key ideas within the culture module. So the modules include evidence summaries, combining up-to-date research with a realistic scenario framed from the perspective of a leader in an earlier setting. As I've said, even if you're an aspiring leader, these evidence summaries are designed to be accessible. Each module contains further examples of what this might look like in different settings and provisions, supplementary reading, and supportive activities to strengthen your leadership or your setting. That was a whistle-stop introduction to the NPQEYL by me. Lisa and her team will take you through the application process and further insights into how the programme will run. But we'll pause here now to take any questions about the curriculum content that you might have. And thank you for your time.
Okay, so please do feel that you can either put your hand up if you prefer to, or type a question in the chat. Either's great, but we really do welcome any questions, particularly where we've got the experts here, around the content, and then I'll cover the structure of it in a few moments. We'll just pause for a minute.
Laura, while everyone's thinking of their question and popping it onto the chat, obviously we've got a number of colleagues here from PBI settings, and it's one of those opportunities that's come up where it's tailored for both audiences. What's been undertaken in the curriculum design to make sure that we're reflective of those different settings in our area?
Definitely, I can answer this one, but if you'd like to talk about the higher structure of that, Toby, I'm happy for you to do so first. Yeah.
Thanks very much. It's a really good question. So one of the things that makes the NPQEYL so unique is that we're working across quite a few different areas of participants. As you say, we've got nurseries and schools, we've got PVIs, we've got everyone from people who are running maybe an entire nursery to people who are leading, say, a room, or childminders. So one of the things that we've done is we've engaged with experts from multiple different settings. So that includes people who are working in a PVI. One of the things that we are also looking at the moment is bringing in more examples by actually going and doing some filming in PVIs and childminding settings as well, to kind of feed those in more, so that you have maybe at the moment on NPQEYL or SL, maybe just 2 examples. We're thinking with EYL, we might actually have modules where we have 3, 4, maybe even up to 6 examples, so that participants, whatever background they're coming from, or whatever setting they're working in, actually can see how the principles that are being taught on the module actually look like in their own particular setting. So that's something we're currently exploring with our design, but up until now it's been by working with experts from multiple different settings, including PBIs.
That's great. Thank you very much. I hope that's been very useful for colleagues.
Thank you. Were there any other questions that came through, Lisa?
No, there's just a particular question from Jade that she's been accepted on the early years already on the programme. Jade, you're more than welcome to sit and listen to this, so it might just help put in context some of the things that you're going to do, and hopefully just increase that excitement to start the qualification.
We have a lovely message.
Best of luck.
Hello, Kelly. We're just reading it. Ooh, good question.
Yeah, so the question around is around the next question isn't around course content, Laura. It's around who can apply for it. So it's leaders and those aspirational to lead early years. So you don't have to be a leader at the moment, but have to be aspirational too.
Yeah, and just on that, it's across a lot of different settings. So anyone with an NPQ level 3 qualification or above can apply. So yes, like you said, those aspirational leaders all in a leadership position.
Okay, I'm just going to say a big thank you. I know you've given up your time, and that is just so kind of you to come. So thank you very much to Laura and Toby. And as you're sort of cycling off the call, I'll just start the next part on there. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Nice to talk to you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Sorry, folks, while it's just opening up. Okay, so I think we really are really lucky that we've had someone from the team to be able to come and talk to us around that. Not quite sure why it's got leading teaching on those ones on there. Okay, right. Okay.
Just going to do a new share just for the colleagues who.
Thank you.
Will you carry on talking?
So the qualifications, all the NPQs are really important in terms of retainment and quality of teaching. And by quality of teaching, we include that in PVI settings as well, that education part of it. And it's to keep people in roles longer and make sure they've got that great professional development, and make sure that's crucial to teachers and leaders. So for most people, this is fully funded, and it's maybe one of the first times that you've had this qualifications type of qualification that's funded through for you. But if you want to go and read around the recruitment strategy, and whilst it's been brought down to the early years as well, I've put a link in which will be in there when we send it out to you as well. So why should you study for it? I think we've heard the content there and seen sort of the importance of that, but it's really about building that expertise in child development and making sure that we're creating those leaders that can create that aspirational setting for the young children that we're looking after. And some of this I hope isn't too much of a repeat, but I think this is a really useful slide to show you. So really looking at the deprivation, particularly in our area. So we know that people are starting at schools and nurseries with a high level of deprivation and a high skills gap. And one of the things that the course is really looking at is creating that level playing field around it as well. And you can see from our area when we look on there that we are a really high deprivation area. And so it really goes to our sort of morals and our ethos around creating that great provision for them. I'm just going to play you a video, but I'm just going to stop sharing first of all and start again because I'm not sure whether we've got it played. It's only a 60-second video, so let's just reshare and make sure we're sharing the sound in it as we go through. And this is from this is shared from Ambition, and it's 60-second introduction into the 60-second introduction into the early years. So let's hope this just plays as we go through now. Thank you very much. Please just do pop your hand or unmute if it's played without any sound. It has got subtitles as well.
The NPQEYL is the first NPQ specifically designed for leaders or aspiring leaders of early years settings. It puts culture, child development, implementation and professional development of staff at the heart of the programme and covers areas fundamental to effective early years leadership, such as organisational management and working in partnership. The programme is 18 months long. Over the course of the programme, you will engage in learning activities which take about an hour a week. These can be completed online at a time which suits you and your working patterns. You will also get to connect with other early years leaders whilst making sense of the content in 6 facilitated sessions called clinics and at 2 conferences. All of our materials are carefully designed to ensure that any time that you invest is beneficial to developing your expertise as an early years leader. You will be an early years leader or aspiring early years leader in private, voluntary, independent or maintained early years settings. You will hold a minimum of a level 3 NPQ qualification in a relevant area such as childcare or education.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to just share that with you, I think it's quite useful if it's something you want to share with your leaders back at school, if it's back in your setting, if it's something you want to tell them about. So 60 seconds, really quick video on there that gives you an overview. And what we'll do now is we'll look a little bit more in the detail of what the course structure is. So what's the course structure in the NPQ Leading Early Years? So as it said in the video, you've got it's an 18-month course. It'll start in November and there'll be a second cohort that starts in February, and that's made up of different elements, and I'll show you in this form and I'll show you in a pictorial form as well so you can see both of them. There'll be 2 live conferences, each lasting 6 hours. By the conference in there, we're doing face-to-face conferences for those, so that's 2 full-day conferences. There's 9 courses which last 6 weeks long, and each of those courses has 6 modules, and within those there's practice modules, so things that you need to do. I know there looks like a lot of bullet points there, but if we start back at the top one and we say we've got 2 conferences and then we've got 6 2-hour clinics which are facilitated online, so all the rest is involved within those sessions on there other than the bits that you do online. Towards the end of the programme, we're going to put in an assessment clinic to help you with assessment. We'll talk about assessment in a few moments. And then it's really innovative, the programme that's been designed, in the fact that there's online communities that we don't facilitate, but they're facilitated by your peers. And I'll show you what one of those looks like as well in a moment on there. So this is just the same information, but in a pictorial form, showing you the conferences where they fit, the fact that you've got the assessment clinics in there, and then you've got the other parts around on those parts as well. And we'll look now what they look like. So the conference is set up very much to prepare you for the end assessment. So if people have done an NPQ before and they might be within a school, they might tell you they've got an improvement project that you'll need to do. That's actually not in the new NPQ reformed qualification at all. It's actually a case study which you'll respond to in an open book style, and you'll have 8 days to complete, and that'll be right at the end of the project. What the programme does do is it works through to make sure you're really well prepared for it. And you can even see from this first conference that you've got a case study that's at the end part on here, where you'll start to practice taking something from a case study and thinking around how you'd respond to that. So hopefully there's quite a lot of variety within that one day, from working to giving you some knowledge, to working through some live practice, to being able to apply that learning to a case study. We also said that there was clinics throughout the session, and these clinics are led by an expert. We've got 2 expert facilitators in place to lead the early years qualification. Both of them have got extensive experience of working in early years, and they will model the part first of all. So if it's part of the theory or part of an implementation for improvement, they will model it. So it's almost like an I will, I do. Then together, you work together in the group to pull that together before having time to practice it on your own before leaving that clinic. So again, really good structure in terms of building your knowledge. In the communities, I said that these were still quite innovative because we don't facilitate these. The idea around these is that we're learning with and through each other, and that you would bring to the community one of your trickiest professional problems. So what's causing you an issue at the moment within the work setting, and you'll be able to identify that, discuss, and then learn together to be able to learn from the information in the room. And I think that's a really nice way of bringing everyone's expertise together to be able to learn through each other on there. And then finally, before we finish on here, we'll make sure these are sent out for you as well. And I know when I did one of these earlier in the week, a couple of people asked them to put them in the chat, so I'll copy and paste these in the chat in a moment. But on our Teaching School Hub website, you'll find leaflets and indicative dates for the early years qualification. You'll also see an expression of interest form, which you'll need to fill in if you're interested in it, and we'll start the ball rolling around your application for it. The Ambition website is really good in terms of giving information in small bite-sized chunks, so there's a link there as well. And you'll need to register on the DFE portal, but we'll send you some details around what you need to do around that as well, and how you register for that part once you've done that expression of interest with us. I'm just going to stop sharing while I put those in the chat, and then I'm going to pause to ask if there's any questions that we can answer for you. Do that one,
yeah. What was very interesting to see tonight is there's quite a lot of colleagues from very varying settings, and I think what's an exciting opportunity for all the colleagues on the NPQEYL is actually that diversity of being able to network and connect with colleagues across so many settings. That power of the knowledge in the room will be so advantageous and a great opportunity. I know our facilitators who are going to be delivering on it are very excited, both are from different contexts with different history of leading in the early years, both very experienced, and they're very excited about being able to work with many colleagues from across our area who work in those varying settings. So I hope you're as excited as we are and as our facilitators are about the power of what you're going, what colleagues are going to get from that networking, from that connectivity across our settings. Is that, oh no, I can see that we've not got any further questions from
please do unmute though if you would like to ask a question, or add it to the chat, or please do stay on the line if you'd prefer to ask it individually as people start to leave the call. It's a really simple application process. The first one is the link that I've put in there around sending us an expression of interest, and then excuse me, both myself and Lisa, who also works on the administration of this, will work with you to get that application through. I should have said that the deadline for applications is the 13th of September.
That was going to be my next
sorry about that
facilitator question. I was going back, and so Lisa, what do you think? The process involves onboarding with Ambition, and they take you through quite a lot of the steps. So it's a very scaffolded, supported process, because we're aware of how complicated things have been. If you've heard anything about last year's story, this year there has been massive improvements on the portal. What I would encourage, if anyone's got any questions, many of the colleagues on the call will most probably have the same question as you, so please do feel free to use the chat or use the to come off mute for any last questions before we will bring it to a close if we have no questions. Otherwise, yeah, please do, if you have a question, there will be someone else who'll be thinking the same.
So September is the deadline for the full application. It's not a huge application form, it's not going to take you weeks to do, but it does take a little time to get through the system, and there isn't much flex on that, because we want to get the funding in place for you, which is why it needs to be at that point. Of course, there'll be a second cohort that also runs from February onwards.
Yeah. And to be clear, that deadline is set by our lead provider. So if you're not familiar with the NPQ arrangements from this year, Ambition is the national lead provider. They're the large organisation that are working with the DFE for this, and we are the local delivery partner. So you do onboard with Ambition, and then when you get to a point, you say, we would like to work with Spencer Teaching School Hub for a local delivery model within our area.
Any other questions? Do feel free to leave the call should you answer the questions that you need.
Oh, we've got a few now.
Okay.
How exciting. I think as soon as you get the ball rolling and someone's asked a few questions, I think it's always really useful.
So would you have to supplement the payment of the training? So no, it's funded training. The cover isn't covered within it. So those days where you're out, you do have to supplement that through your workplace. But.
And I know sometimes qualifications have an additional payment for the assessment part and to get the qualification. At the moment, everything is fully funded by the DfE. We know this to be true for the next cohort. We cannot make guarantees for future cohorts because that's in the DfE's decision-making process, but we can say that the September cohort is fully funded by the DfE.
And I know for some of you wouldn't have had that fully funded qualification before, particularly from those PVI settings. So
yeah,
this is exciting for us that we're able to work with you and be able to fund it. If you had to self-fund it, it's around about just under £2,000.
Ooh, good question.
So they're actually they're actually local facilitators. So it's written nationally, and then we're allowed to add our regional variation to it. And we've got really experienced facilitators, haven't we?
So I can talk. Janine Drury is a colleague within our own trust. She sits in the centre of our school. So we've got about, I think it's 18 if not 20 primaries, so she works over all of our primaries. She's an experienced early years lead and practitioner, and what she is doing, she's going in every day, working with leaders, working with colleagues at the chalk face per se, helping improve practice. So she is active in her role and works across Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, so with inner city schools, with small new schools that are opening, as well as those that are kind of out in the kind of sort of small schools. And our second facilitator, I think you've spoken with her.
Yeah, so I won't give you her name because I've not asked her that we can release that yet.
Oh, yes.
But our second facilitator has worked both across PVIs and early year settings. She's a school improvement advisor, still working within schools, and actually sits on the DfE COVID catch-up as well for early years and that gap that's arising within that. So very aware of the context that's there.
And they're both local and have been working for many years in our local area. So we're very excited for that. I think, do we have another question?
The other question was around the funding for February 2023. So we don't have information on that at the moment. We think maybe, but we can't make any promises around that. The DfE will let us know. It partly depends when their pot is empty. So they have a certain amount of money, and at some point these won't be funded, but they are at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a big thank you. I know, particularly as we get towards the end of the summer term, it's a big ask around here. So to ask you to attend these type of sessions, so thank you. Just one other question.
Are we Potentia? We are not. We work very closely with Alan Keeley at Potentia, who covers the North Derbyshire area. So we do work strongly in partnership with them, but we are Spencer Teaching School Hub. There we go. I think that might be our last question.
Thank you, everybody. And do, if you want an individual conversation, do please stay on the line. We can also collect questions via email, so I'm quite happy to put my email address in here and send out some frequently asked questions if that's useful as well. So I'll just pop that in as we leave.